This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so like I said, happy Monday. Today is Monday, January 13th, and as always, everything that we're going to be talking about this morning is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. All right, so something to keep in mind. The past, I'd say, month and a half, our Mondays have been some of our best days coming into the week. So definitely keep that in mind, and we definitely, we have a pretty decent list coming into the morning as well. So first thing looking at is five. Now, five, obviously, closed at 121.23. We are down to 98 right now, has taken a huge hit. So this is one of those situations where it's a lot easier for us to be able to interpret the prints because we pretty much know exactly what this consolidation has told us. All right, so I know, coming in, you can see this 102, 103. We have 98.50, which we just saw ask prints, but we know almost, there's not for a fact, but to a very, very high percentage that this is going to be covering. We know that most people that are going to be in this are short. So really what I'm focused on is the new selling that's coming in. And one thing that we definitely need to understand is that you can see a few prints within the stock is going to make a huge difference. The range is going to be absolutely, way, way, way bigger than we would expect it to be. Based off the average of 349, our volume is already at 362,000 shares. On average, trades about 1.1. So once again, we know that this is going to be a big mover, especially based off the personality from how much of a drop that it's taken coming into this morning. So overall, I'm not too worried about this 98.50, but what I am worried about is that 100 is going to be a very hard level to break. This is not a level that, anyone that has any type of position really wants it to go underneath. All right. So we need to continue to see this new selling that's coming in. Now, 98 has two bid prints. But once again, these bid prints are going to mean way, way, way more than what two bid prints would typically mean in something else just based off of the range that we can already see that's coming into this. All right, so more than likely, we're going to have to expect it to be an exception, but at the same time, we're going to to follow the rules until it shows us that. And once again, like I said, based off the selling that we have coming into it, a few sell prints are going to affect the stock big time. So we have 98. I'm still going to be expecting, unless it really shows us that it's going to go into exception mode, I'm still going to have to expect it to give a little bit of a pullback back up above this 100 level. 843. So if we go back to exactly when we saw those prints in there, we never really got that pullback above that 100. So overall, I would expect it to come back up. Our rules say that it has to. And then obviously from there, we want to see some more selling coming in to build that position for us to be able to break down underneath. But, once again, the pull up within a stock like this, especially considering the fact that we're kind of, in a very bearish looking flag. If you look at the 15-minute, it just consolidates a little bit easier for you. But you can see we're still in a flag. So a failed flag would make a lot of sense breaking back up above that 100 level until we got our trigger back towards that downside. That's the game plan that I'm going to be following, like I said, unless it really shows us that it's going to be that exception. And then I'm going to be, basically take it as the market makers give us from there. Next thing looking at is DARE, D-A-R-E. So this is another one where I'm not a huge fan of these cheaper stocks that don't really have that buying up near the highs. So coming up to that 250 level, you can see there's just not really much. There's a lot of buying that came in right underneath the 2 level, but there's just not really much at all. And, we have to take into account that it was 7:30. It was before 8 o'clock. So a lot of times you're not going to see a huge influx of any type of volume, but the volume wasn't that bad whatsoever as we came into our highs. We were almost around 100,000. So it's got the perfect variables for us to be looking for a trigger back towards the upside, but just the buying near the highs, that's my biggest problem. All right, so look over here. This is where we're going to be looking for our basically our kiss of death. And within this consolidation, you can see that's where a lot of it built and then popped back up. So if we do break below pretty much that 140 level, I'm not going to have pay really too much attention to it. But once again, just add that to your percentages, because when it doesn't have the buying near highs, it definitely has buying. But I love to see controlling prints up there so that when we really do get that trigger, it shows us where that person has to make money above, and we just don't have that. So it definitely lowers our percentage a bunch. But still, like I said, the setup, and then as long as we hold above this 140 level, it still gives us the opportunity for us to be able to break back up above. Next thing, MBOT, M-B-O-T. So this is one where we know this thing can move. We've seen it happen before. We were sitting in a pretty bullish consolidation, and then we're basically have just broken out of it. This is another one though too, that 15 I really wish would have showed a little bit more, but coming up to that 15.20, and then I understand it's not at the highs, but that 15.20 definitely shows us that somebody's very, very interested, and needs to make a lot more money than where we got our highs here at that basically that 15.80 point. So overall, definitely has our buying, and this is another one where the orders are just so drastically thin that overall, 2 prints, 3 prints, it's going to make a big effect on what the stock is actually going to do. Just keep in mind, again, 15, it's just not a great level to be trading by. So over that 15, it really should be pulling back underneath a little bit before we see anything, and then from there, we should see buying building to be able to tell us that it's going to break up above that 15.80 as well. Coming over, we're actually not in a terrible spot at all for us to be able to get back up to this double top, around that 20 level. So we know it says 82 cents within the range, but you can't really follow that so much because we know when this thing does move that it's really going to move, and the range gets a lot bigger than what we typically would see based off of its average volume. Next thing looking at is VRNA. So VRNA, this is another one where it jumped up, but there's not really much substance behind it. If we come back over to the actual prints themselves, you can see, there's just nothing again at those highs. So it has the variables, it has everything for us to actually be looking at and watching. But again, there's not much for it to be able to trigger back towards that upside. So we're going to need to see in a stock like this, we're going to need to see more of a building type position. Need to see somebody hit a level a few different times, pull back from it, and then be able to actually trade, because it just does not have that buying above yet. And then if it does break down, from where our support level is right here, it's not going to look good, because like I said, there's just not really much that's holding it up from where it really, where it originated from. So overall, this is definitely on the bottom part of my list, but if we start to see the buying coming in based off its range, we could definitely see this thing move. It has variables, but it doesn't have as many as that we would like. There's no real show of hand that's came into it. And like I said, these cheaper stocks that doesn't have buying at the highs after it's pulling back, it's typically not a great situation. And then SSI, excuse me. So this is another one where, well, first of all, you're able to get shares. So it can go both ways, but I'm not really sold on the move itself. I mean, it dropped off, but there was really no follow that came into it that really showed us that anybody was really interested in once the market opens that this thing is going to move. So we can see at 375, had some nice new selling, a little bit underneath 365 coming into that 350 level. 350 did not really have anything either. Anything as well. So it's another one where it's just not a great show of hand. It definitely shows us that it wants to be able to do something, but overall it just doesn't really have that, that definitive, this is what's going to happen with it. All right, coming into that 4, you can see, some selling too, but we're already 60 cents away. So this is another one where, we can go both ways. So you're going to be able to short it, or you're going to be able to go long, but it just needs to really give us its direction. Obviously, the trend is going down at this point. We are getting new selling. It just hasn't really had those controlling prints coming into it yet. So going to need to see a little bit more before we decide exactly what we're going to be looking to do. By far, 5 is my favorite. Now, the reason that 5 is my favorite is because of the fact that it doesn't take a lot of prints to really affect it, and at the same time it's showing us that it's going to have a huge range. Already being smooth in the pre-markets, telling me that once we get into the actual market, we should really be able to see some nice trends that push this thing. So overall, like I said, by far my favorite. We have it selling at 98, which I still think that it needs to pull up, and I am going to be looking to play the pull-up trade coming into the morning first thing, because of the fact of how big the range is actually going to be. Just understand that it's probably not going to last that long, based off the selling that we're seeing coming in underneath. All right, guys, anything else out there that I missed? Anything else going on? Yeah, so BYND, I saw the prints this morning coming into that 100 level. So we do have a few ask prints that came in at the 100. Right here, that we can see that came in at about 814, and this thing is going, it's starting to get momentum again. So coming into that 100, once the stock kind of gets up there, we're going to see this thing pretty much trade almost every single day until we kind of see either die out or get to a price where we don't really see much. But At the same time, it's got the buying to go way higher. We talked about that it was going to be a big overnight move to bring us up above 100. We definitely got that 95 to 100 and 100 and what 250. But overall, it's not bad at all. We see some selling that's showing us that we need to pull back underneath a little bit of riders, but those hundreds are definitely showing us that we want to get back up above. So definitely, I mean, BYND for sure is on our list. But just keep in mind, it's really kind of start to one type of to be an everyday type stock, not a market stock, but an everyday type stock, just based off the price that it's going. And then obviously, it's been hot ever since whatever news came out, which I could really care less about what it is. AMRN, let's take a look. Back up above 20 again. You got a little bit of selling at 20. Yeah, no, it's not bad at all. And we know that the selling that came in, that shows us it should be even lower than this. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's looking smooth. The only thing, like I said, is just that 20 level. The psychological levels are just a crappy spot to really be looking to get into a trade. So I would like to see it get away from 20 a little bit, but without a shadow of a doubt. 5, will 100 be a hard break, hard to hold, or both? Do we want to avoid that level or looking for short entry? I'm looking for short. So back to 5. So 100 is a hard level to hold underneath. So depending on which way it's going to, okay, whether right now it's going to be hard to hold underneath because of the fact that it's coming from up above. There's got to be people that still want this stock up, the investors or anybody else. So it's going to be hard to hold under. That's why I'm going to be looking for a quick long first from the pull up from that 100. But I'm really overall looking for today to be a short, because guess what? It's not one of those stocks that we're going to see continue for weeks on end. It just based off of the variables that we have here, we can see that. Okay, a lot of the stock sits within a consolidation. It's not a huge mover. So I'm almost going to be treating it as like that 5 minutes of 15 minutes of fame type deal, where, that pull up above that 100 to kind of get people back, thinking that now we have that support level before we're going to come underneath and satisfy that selling. NVTA, let's see. NVTA. Yeah, it's definitely not bad. 124,000 shares, 96 on average, which we can definitely assume that it's going to be over average. Only thing is, from this morning, you can see there's just not, even though it's got 124,000 shares, there's just not a ton of interest. And the orders are very thin, but see, there's not a ton there. And it looks like a little bit of buying on the pullback from basically going up on nothing. It's not terrible. I will definitely put it on our side list, but there's just nothing there that I can see. I mean, at this point in time, looking at the stock, I literally have no idea. I mean, it definitely shows that it looks like it wants to come back up above that 1775, but there's just not enough information for us to really go on. But we'll definitely take a look, keep it on our side list, and based off the range that we see going on in it. The only thing is that it's got a big range, but there's not really much trading that's behind it. So just something to keep in mind, because once the market opens, we always can expect a little bit more, but I would love to see a little bit more interest. All right, guys. So, like I said, Traders Exchange tomorrow at 12:30. Let's make sure. Like I said, I was doing some reading. I have something like a really interesting analogy to go with trading that we're going to talk about. But then also, as always, send in your questions and topics. We will get to those tomorrow, and then I will talk to everyone in the chat. And happy trading.